Hi, and welcome back to Don't Just Cook. I'm your host, Robert Steven Munoz. Well, it is one of my favorite times of the year. Well, I have a lot of favorite times of the year now that I think about it, but Halloween and October and fall, as you've seen in some of my other videos, is definitely one of them. Since I was a kid, my family, we really got into Halloween. I remember when we were little, my grandmother dressing up in costumes and either hiding in the yard or posing like a mannequin in her window and then scaring the kids as they came up to trick or treat. I remember my mother and my stepfather helping my brother and I with our costumes, which you may have seen some of those costumes pop up. And it's just always been something that's super fun to me. And it's that chance to kind of pretend that you're someone else for a day and explore your imagination and your creativity. So it's always been something fun to me. Fast forward to I'm a grown adult. Bunch of my friends are getting ready to go to one of those haunted Halloween nights at a theme park thing, and I hate those. I am so scared of all that. I am a total chicken wimp baby when it comes to anything horror. So I decided to stay back, stay home, and not join them on that Halloween horror situation. But I got a little bored being home by myself, so I dug through my cupboard and my pantry and pulled out some ingredients, and I thought I'll make some cookies so when they all get back, they'll have some nice, fresh, warm cookies. So the cookie that I'm gonna share with you today, I have been making. Here is my original cookbook. I mean, if I open it up, things are gonna fall out. My handwriting in here is terrible. Oops, see, I told you things were gonna fall out. And this is my original cookbook. I have been making this cookie recipe since 2003. I call it a fall delight. It really embodies all the warm and amazing flavors of this time of the year, whether it's Halloween, trick or treat, or even right in through to Thanksgiving. So let's go ahead and get started on the fall delight. Right, so the first thing we want to do, as with most good cookie recipes, is we want to cream our butter with our sugars. So I have granulated sugar and light brown sugar here. I'm going to put this into my mixing bowl. I'm going to go ahead and lift the bowl up and start it on a lower speed. Start getting those two forms of sugar blended together. And now we can start adding in our softened butter that has been left out to come to room temperature. Okay, now that all the butter's in there, we can turn up the speed a little bit. And you know my rule for anything baking and anything that you're doing in your mixing bowl, you want to pause for a second and do some scrapes. See, there's butter on the paddle, so we want to make sure to get that in there and get all the ingredients together how they're supposed to be. So, good rule of baking and mixing is scraping. Now we want to keep whipping this up until the sugar and the butter become this beautiful, whipped up, creamy, smooth, fluffy texture. So I'm going to let this rip. We're getting there. Pull this out, and you can see it's starting to become nice and creamy and whipped up. So we're going to take this opportunity to do another scrape down. Okay, now that we've done that second scrape down, we're going to go ahead and pull the bowl back up. Get the speed going again. A little lower this time, because now it's time to add in our eggs. I like to add them in one at a time to make sure they get very well mixed in. Our 2 eggs. And then, as one instructor told me once, fat equals flavor. So when you're working with your butter and your eggs, those are your 2 fatty ingredients, that's when you want to add your extract. So I'm going to add our vanilla extract. And now we can turn this up again and really get that beautiful whip going. It's looking good. It's looking nice and light and fluffy, which is exactly what we want. Take a look at that. Isn't that perfect? So again, we're going to scrape it down and give it a nice stir. Make sure there's no goodness stuck to the bottom of the bowl. Okay, now that we have our butter, eggs, sugar, all well blended together with the vanilla extract, it's time to mix our dry ingredients. Pretty simple here. We have all-purpose flour. Here's where things take a little bit of a turn. Like I said, tricks up my sleeve. It is trick or treat time. This is actually a pumpkin bread or pumpkin muffin mix, whatever your favorite one is. I've tried different ones and they all work well. I'm using the Trader Joe's pumpkin bread mix because it's already got seasonings in it. It has the dehydrated pumpkin in there. So we're gonna add that in with our all-purpose flour. Use my whisk to make sure the two flours are blended together. And then to give these cookies an extra boost of heartiness, which is what we expect this time of the year, I am going to add in some oats. But what I like to do is put them in my food processor, whip them down and break them down a little bit so they're not in their complete whole form. So let's do that. Perfect, super simple. And we'll just add the oats to our two flours. And again, we're going to whisk those together to make sure they're well incorporated. And then we have our salt, baking soda and baking powder. And then of course, you know it, from September until January, this is your go-to seasoning, that pumpkin pie spice. So we're gonna add that in there and give this all a good mix. Want to make sure all those dry ingredients are already well incorporated before we even start to add them to the wet ingredients. Here's our mix-ins, and we're going to get to those in a second. We're going to put our bowl back on. We have our oven heating to 375, so it's 375 degrees in my oven. Getting a nice preheat on that. I have a cookie sheet already lined, ready to go. So as soon as everything gets mixed, we are going to be ready. So we did that final scrape down. We're gonna put our paddle back on. Give the bowl a lift. And we're gonna put this on low. And now we can start adding in this flour mixture. So again, thanks for joining me here on Don't Just Cook. I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. Don't forget to like, to subscribe, share with your friends and your family, and comment below. Share with me some of your favorite Halloween time, trick-or-treat time stories, memories, and moments, or one of your favorite recipes that just totally reminds you of this time of the year. So now we're ready to start adding in our chocolate. I have semi-sweet chocolate chips here, as well as milk chocolate chips. Add a few in, let it mix in. Now, the next chocolate I'm going to add in is this beautiful dark chocolate bar. So we're going to break down the chocolate bar by hand. So I got this nice big dark chocolate bar. It's Belgian chocolate. I'm going to put it into a Ziploc bag. And I got my handy dandy rolling pin on my cutting board, and we're just going to whack it. I think I want to take away some of the noise. So I'm going to lay a towel down on my cutting board so that it's not so loud. Whew. This was a workout. This is totally optional. Whew. That was a workout breaking down that big old thick chocolate bar. So you could buy the pre-chunked chocolate. I just like doing it this way so that some of your bites have a little piece of chocolate and some of your bites have a giant piece of chocolate. So we're gonna put the mixer back on. And we're gonna add in those chunks of chocolate. And then last but not least, some walnut pieces. Another quintessential fall ingredient. Think everything is mixed well together. Let's take a look, shall we? Oh yeah. That is some thick, rich, and hearty cookie dough right there. Definitely. We got our spatula here. We'll give it a stir. Again, making sure there's nothing stuck to the bottom. And voila, look at that. You can see all the different chunks of all the different chocolates in there. So now what I like to do is I'm actually gonna roll this out into some clear wrap, and I am going to pop it in the fridge for about 30 minutes or so it can firm up a little bit, and then we're going to scoop it out and put it onto our cookie sheet and get it ready for the oven. All right, let's do that. Okay, well, our dough, our big block of dough is chilled and a lot more firm, so that's going to help with the cookies not spreading too much when they go into the hot oven. What's also great about this recipe, if you don't need to make this many cookies your first time out, if you just want to make a few, that's fine. You can divide this dough in half, wrap it very well in your clear wrap, and then stick it in a Ziploc bag. You can keep it in the fridge for a couple of days or pop it into the freezer until you're ready to use it. Either way, it's going to be delicious. Also, there's different, depending on your cookie size that you would like. If you want little bite-sized cookies, you could use something like this, whatever is easier for you in your hand. An ice cream scoop, a cookie scoop. I like to use like a big fat like serving spoon, almost like a double tablespoon. That's what I like to use because I like big, thick, hearty, break in half, dunk in your ice cold milk cookies. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna scoop it out with this big spoon, form them. And if you've been watching some of my videos already, you know I like things to be a little bit more natural or rustic or imperfect, whatever you like to call it. So not so factory looking. So I'm just gonna scoop it out, kind of gently form it, not roll it. You don't want it to be too tight because then you get that weird texture in the middle. I like a cookie that's crispy on the outside and gooey on the inside. I don't like a cookie that's soft in and out because then it doesn't hold up to milk. I don't like a cookie that's hard all the way through either, where it's just like too crispy and you don't get that nice chew. So I find that this recipe and this size cookie and not compacting it too much with your hand is the perfect solution for that. So I'm gonna roll these out, put them on my cookie sheet that's lined with a silicone baking pad, silk pad. We're gonna leave a couple of inches in between each cookie, and then we're gonna pop them into that oven that's been heating at 375. So I'm gonna finish this up and get these into the oven. See you back here in a little bit. Okay, those cookies are all on there. For those of you who are perfectionists and like everything to be uniform, these cookies come in at about 3.5 ounces each. So that all depends on you and how big, thick, and hearty you want your cookies. Remember, if you're making them smaller or larger, you're gonna want to adjust the time that they're in the oven. I like to put these in for about 10 minutes. Then at 10 minutes, turn the pan around and then go for another 3 to 5 minutes, depending on how well that first 10 minutes went. So let's get these in the oven because now I'm really starting to crave these cookies. OMG. Mira eso. Look at that. Look at these cookies. Again, I know I say this in every video and I probably need to find something else to say, but if you could only smell these right now, you could smell the different spices. You could smell that melted chocolate. So good. I'm gonna let these cool a little bit on the tray, take them onto the cooling rack, let them cool a little bit more, and I am definitely going to enjoy one with a glass of cold milk while it's still nice and warm and yummy. Thanks again for joining me here on Don't Just Cook. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share it with a friend, send me a message, tell me hello, see how it's going. If you want this recipe, I need to see that you're liking and following me right here on YouTube. You can go to my Instagram at La Cookie Cabana. I'm also on TikTok under Robert Steven Munoz. So definitely, if you want this cookie recipe, I need to see that you're following me, and I'd be glad to share it with you. Until then, trick or treat.
Happy Halloween.